Thank you so much. Thank you to Jane and the rest of our board, and to Heather and Lucy and Jess, and to all of our sponsors this evening. Thank you for your support. And thank you to our staff who work so hard all day, every day. We have such an inspiring and incredible team, and tonight I hope you feel proud of what you've achieved. In 2017, I was named as the next president and CEO of the National Women's Law Center just weeks after the inauguration of our current president. As you can imagine, at the Law Center, we had our work cut out for us. We still do. After all, our work seems to represent the two things the administration fears the most: women and the law. This is a powerful room. Each of us is here because we've dedicated some part of our lives to the pursuit of justice. Justice. So that word appears up top in our nation's Constitution. Right after the promise to form a more perfect union comes the promise to establish justice. Of course, that promise was broken a few sentences later as it enshrined a legacy of slavery and denied justice for women. In other words, justice has always been foundational to this country, but justice for whom? Justice for her? That we've always had to fight for. And in fact, before the ink on the Constitution was dry, women started to fight. When Abigail Adams reminded her husband to remember the ladies. When Sojourner Truth inspired activists by asking, "Ain't I a woman?" When Alice Paul organized the first ever women's march outside the White House, and when Ida B. Wells stood up for black suffragists by refusing to march in the back, and more than 100 years later, when millions of women around the world gathered for the largest women's march, the largest march of any kind, they were demanding justice for her. These women have passed down a simple, unshakable truth: that justice for her is the only way to establish justice for all. Today, justice for her, justice for all is not just the Law Center's new tagline, though it is, and it's a good one in my opinion. It's a fact. It's an aspiration. It's a rallying cry. And it reminds me of what is possible. You remind me of what is possible. And that's a gift, especially now. Because it seems like every day we're facing attacks on our reproductive freedom, attempts to undermine Title IX, assaults on our low-income families, and an unassailable wage gap. Just this morning, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the DACA program. And last year, of course, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's hearing proved that the Senate, along with so many of our institutions, is far from ready to take sexual violence seriously. Often it feels like progress is impossible. Here's the thing: it isn't. The people in this room and across this country are refusing to accept the status quo. We are solving problems. We are shaking things up. Here tonight, we have leaders who are defending the rights of women and girls every single day. We have Representative Pramila Jayapal with us. We have Kwajalein Jackson, the Executive Director of the Feminist Women's Health Center in Georgia, with us. We have Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who has fought for women's rights on Capitol Hill and on the presidential debate stage. Together, we are a force to be reckoned with. This past year is proof of that. At the Law Center, we called for more child care assistance for low-income families, and we got it. We published a toolkit that teaches K-12 students how to advocate for their Title IX rights. We put out a number on just how much income Latina women lose to the wage gap. In fact, it's not until next week that we will finally mark Equal Pay Day for Latina women. That is how long Latina women have to work into 2019 to match how much white men made in 2018 alone. Think about that. What I'm saying is Latina women have to work almost a full additional year to get equal pay. That cannot stand. We will not let it stand. We've also been making moves in courthouses and in state houses. When we heard that school administrators in Florida and in Georgia were punishing young women who reported sexual assaults, we took them straight to court. And when the Trump administration implemented a rule that would give healthcare providers a license to discriminate against women, against LGBTQ patients, we did not hesitate to file suit, and last week, we won. And when state lawmakers launched a coordinated and dangerous attack on abortion access, we started the Abortion Rights Project to fight those attacks and to say, and even louder for those in the back, that abortion actually is compassion. It is freedom, and it is fundamental to our right to live with equity and dignity in this country. And we did not stop there. This Congress has more women than ever before, and that includes, for the first time in history, Muslim women and Native American women taking their seats and taking the Hill by storm. And because of this historic Congress, the House of Representatives has passed landmark legislation. And we're excited that one of those new members, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, is here with us tonight. These women used their power to help pass the Paycheck Fairness Act, which would bolster protections against pay discrimination, and the Raise the Wage Act, which would increase the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, and for the first time in history have one fair wage. And the Equality Act, which guarantees the basic rights for, that's right, the basic rights for every LGBTQ individual are protected under federal law, and it bans sex discrimination where it isn't already in public spaces, in federal spending. If that is not justice, I do not know what is. But they're not doing it alone. They're doing it with the restaurant workers and domestic workers who are demanding a fair wage and better working conditions. With survivors who are refusing to let Me Too be just a moment. Survivors are powerful, they are leaders, and they vote. They're doing it with teachers who have been striking for themselves and the kids they teach. They're doing it with the lawyers, the housing activists, the actors, the artists, all of you. All of us, we are turning that constitutional promise of justice into a reality. And if we keep up this momentum, I think that future could be here a lot sooner than we think. You know, there's been a lot of focus on what will happen Election Day in 2020, and rightfully so. There's a lot at stake. But we need to be equally focused on what happens on Inauguration Day and the day after. Because no matter who is elected, we have to be ready to hold them accountable. We have to be ready to act. Because the future we are shaping, that future won't just be good for women. It will be good for all of us. Because as you've heard, justice for her is justice for all. I'm not saying that just because it sounds nice. I'm saying it because it's true. When low-income women are paid the wages they deserve, they're better equipped to take care of their families. When high-quality childcare is affordable and accessible, more women can work in better and in higher-paying jobs. And when women are represented at the highest levels of government, our politics becomes more inclusive, more effective, and more democratic. In other words, a just future is a better future, and it is the future we all deserve. I started tonight by naming a few of the women who were pioneers in our fight. I want to end by naming one more. The year after the Civil War ended, the women of this nation gathered in New York City for the 11th National Women's Convention. A woman named Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, a poet and an activist, took the stage. She preached, "I say then that justice is not fulfilled so long as women is unequal before the law." She continued, "We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity." Frances, a Black woman, said those words just months after our people were freed. We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity. What faith, what hope, what wisdom, what a vision for justice for us to carry out and to carry on. So today, let us remember, if we want to build a more perfect union, we have to build it together. We have to show up over and over and over again for women, for girls, for immigrants, for people with disabilities, for everyone who is facing discrimination, for all of us. We have to take our advocacy beyond this evening and beyond this room, even and especially when it all feels impossible. So let's do justice to our new tagline and our nation's foundational promise and demand justice for her and justice for all. Thank you.